All right. So the surfing podcast world's favorite segment is back, the lineup time machine. So a quick refresher. The time machine is us speculating on how the world title determination would have gone down in previous years with the forthcoming WSL Finals format. The last time we ran through the theoretical 2014 contenders at Macaroni's and determined that Gabriel Medina still would have won his maiden title in the new format. But Pat, you and I split on the women's, with you saying Steph is going to collect another world title, and I was going to claim that Sally may have turned the tide in the left-handers for the first time. So that's fun shit. And now we've got Selema to play with. Today's time machine, we're taking the year-end rankings from 2006 and running the final 5 men and women through the WSL Finals format and speculating who comes out on top. And we'll ask the question, what might have happened if the new format was in place in 2006? So the same disclaimer as every time. We're obviously aware that all year-end rankings don't take into account future schedules, formats, judging criteria, mid-season cuts, etc. But we're operating the time machine based on how those years finished at the time. So first things first, we have not announced the WSL Finals venue for 2021, and it's going to play a huge role in that final event. So I have returned with Joel Parkinson's actual 2012 World Title Cup.
Wow.
We have 4 venues.
Hey, this is official stuff here.
This is official. Yeah. Joel, we know Joel doesn't listen to the podcast because he hasn't bothered me about it yet. So our options, Trestles still hasn't been chosen. Lakey Peak still hasn't been chosen.
Ooh.
The Maldives, new one from Pat O'Connell.
Maldivian.
And Periscopes, new one from Morgan Sabilich, actually. All right. So mixing these guys up. And we have the Maldives.
Yes.
All right. So Pat O'Connell, take us through what this wave is like, because there are a few in the Maldives, and you have a vision for which one we're going to go to.
Oh, man.
I don't know if I have a vision. I think I've just been overly influenced by Jadson and Italo doing flips the last few days. Anybody who is has half of a social media presence has been watching that and sort of thinking about what would happen if you put real heats and real stakes on the line with the crew out there. So, I know a little bit about the Maldives. Is it the Maldives or the Maldives?
Maldives. I've been
Maldives.
All right. Well, then, all right, Pat, you shut up. Selema, you tell us about the Maldives.
Yeah.
Which wave are we going to?
My first international surf trip ever, 1999. It was a really big deal. I'd never been on a boat trip before. And it is the most alive ocean on the planet. I've never seen anything like it, like just an abundance of fish and sharks and clarity and sea snakes. And it's incredible. It's like an aquarium. Also, it is it's like an interconnected skate park of every single type of wave that you could imagine. And each one sort of dialed up from like a 6 to an 8 to like a 10. Like the place is bullshit how good the waves are. Like you're just, it's perfect. It's not too too soft, not too strong, super shallow. You will get cut. The reef is very, very, very much alive. But as far as high performance is concerned, it's field day.
Okay.
Well, since you're here with us, Selema. Oh, sorry. Go on, Pat.
Are we surfing a left or a right? That was are you going there as well? So we have to we need to pick a wave because we need to have the background of what we're going to choose.
Well, you know how I feel.
Yes,
I hope I do.
Are we going to play with the lefts and the flips that we've just seen?
Yeah, we're going left.
We're going left.
Okay.
I love it. Okay, so we're going left in the Maldives. Now,
wow.
This is going to be the top 5 surfers, men and women, who finished the 2006 rankings. But I like to talk about who just missed out in the number 6 spot. So on the women's side, it was Rebecca Woods. And on the men's side, who missed out on 2014, was Joel Parkinson. So any hot takes on how they would have done in the Maldives in left-handers in 2014? Pat?
In 2014 or 2006?
Oh, sorry, 2006. Thank you.
2006, not super early in Joel's career, like well, somewhat early. I feel like Joel's just on his way up, so he may have missed this version, but probably from 7, 8, 9, whatever, he was a perennial top 5. I think he would have been deadly in the top 5, but I think he can sleep at night.
Yeah, and Woodsy had to this day still has a very lethal backhand, but yeah, it would have been interesting to see her in the Maldives lefts. Match 1 on the day on the WSL Finals circa 2006 is Sofia Milanovic and then rookie Jessie Miley Dyer. Selema, wow. Who are you picking to get through the match?
2006 Sofia Milanovic is like, you know, she's from another planet, and I love Jessie, but she's not beating Sofia in the Maldives at a left.
Pat?
Well, and I think this goes into your decision to go left or right. I honestly feel if this is a right, I think Jessie on her backhand gets her. I 100% agree with you on Sofia. If this is a left, I think she's better on her backhand. Growing up in Peru and surfing those long lefts, I think she gets the win.
Her backhand also was like, it was a game changer, I think, for just women surfing on the backhand. Like, she brought in this very, very aggressive low center of gravity, 12 o'clock hack, and that was her moneymaker.
I'm with you guys. We're 1 year off of, I think, Sofia's world title year. And it was also Jessie's rookie year. She kind of had a couple of blips, but as you guys pointed out, she won the last event at Honolulu, which kind of vaulted her into the top 5 spot. But in left-handers in 2006, I'm going to give it to Soph. Match 2 is Taj Burrow versus Bobby Martinez. We'll go backwards this time. Pat, who do you got? Rippable left-handers, wow. 2006 versions of themselves.
Did Bobby win Chopu that year?
Bobby did. So, he won Chopu and Mundaka that year.
And Mundaka. Whew. So in lefts, you know, the one thing I would say, no real barrels that are going to separate the two, you know, and it's sort of Bobby in doing open-faced cars versus Taj kind of going into the lip. Hard to root against Bobby after having 2 wins. I might side with Bobby on this one. I think this is probably his highest finish that he ever had. And I think he is probably, I think I'd go with Bob.
Selema?
Bob all day. Again, like Sofia, like 2006 Bob, the judges couldn't get enough of. There was a newness to his type of aggression, his pocket commitment. There was this just very raw, visceral, but also technique driven ability to he had all those things, right? It didn't just look good. It was also like, what the fuck just happened? And in lefts, especially, and with that momentum, I'm going with Bobby.
Yeah.
I'm with you guys. I think TB's backhand was underrated for a long time, and then it's still, to me, one of the best backhands on the planet, especially in rippable waves. But 2006 version of Bobby Martinez, I think he's actually at almost like a parallel of like an Italo Ferreira 2019 caliber of like points of separation, because he was so technically proficient and so fast and so good. So
yeah, even Taj would have been like, "Fuck, man."
I'm with you. All right, so match 3, we're back to the women, and we have then Chelsea Georgeson, now Chelsea Hedges, up against who we all agreed would get through match 1, Sofia Milanovic. Selema, Chelsea, or Sofia?
Man, I'm going to stick with Sofia.
Okay.
Pat? And this kind of, I would go into size of waves just because I think Chelsea has the ability to be a bit more broad. I agree with Sofia being tight, but just wondering, when did Chelsea win her world title, Dave?
That's a good question. I should know this. I think it was
right around that time. I sort of wonder, and look, Sofia's on her way up for sure. Chelsea either had already won or was
Sophia. I think Chelsea maybe won the 2005.
Yeah.
And then Lane won 2006. And then I think Sophia won 2007, if I'm right.
Yeah. This is a really tight battle. I'm going to disagree with Selema. I'm going to go Chelsea. And I think if there's open face, I think the separator for her is getting out and drawing some big lines.
She had a beautiful
She had
round.
a hook.
She had a hook. I really enjoyed her surfing.
I'm with Pat on this one. Like, I think she was, to this day, I think she's one of the best goofy footers that's ever been on the women's tour. And I think in lefts, she would have, I think it would have been competitive, but I think Chelsea would have had it.
Yep.
But that's okay. That's good. Good to split. Match 4, Bobby Martinez for all three of us runs into the 2006 pre-world title version of Mick Fanning. Pat, you go first this time.
I'm going to stick with Bob. I just think at that time he was a bit of lightning in a bottle. I think, and again, this goes into why the place and where it becomes so interesting. And everybody thinks about Bobby on his backhand. I just think on his forehand, he can actually draw a different line. Both people that he's run into are both regular foots. So I'm going to stick with Bob.
Same.
Selema?
I don't think Eugene yet has come into his full powers tactically in lefts yet in competition. And I think Bobby would have, it would be close, but I think Bobby would, Bobby's coming through with like an 8-something, a couple of 8s, if not an 8 and a high 7.
Yeah, I'm with you guys for sure. I think 2006 Fanning's on his way to the world title. He's coming back from injury, but I'm going to give that one to Bobby. Match 5. We have Western Australian Melanie Redmond-Carr up against Chelsea Georgeson for Pat and myself, and Sofia Milanovic for you, Selema. We'll go with you first, Selema. Who do you think, Mel Redmond-Carr or Sofia?
I'm riding the Milanovic train. I'm not being just like completely biased, but I don't think that Mel Reds is getting her out there.
Here's the bananas thing, and I vividly remember this from back then, is Mel Redmond-Carr won the first 3 events of the year that season and also won the 5th event. So the first 5 events, Mel Redmond-Carr won 4 of them. And I remember when she got 17th at, this would have been Itakare. And I remember Rabbit was present at the time, and he goes, she lost her heat. Like, she'd won 3 events. She lost her heat at Itakare, does the post-heat interview and says, well, Lane will probably go on to win the event and the world title. And I remember Rabbit's head exploding. He's like, what kind of champion says that? How is she going to be a world champ with that attitude? And then lo and behold, Lane won that event and then won the world title, which to this day kind of blows me away. Pat, you've got Mel Redmond-Carr, who I probably didn't just give the best primer to, or Chelsea Georgeson.
Yeah,
so
I'm going Chelsea. I'm going right down the same, Dave. I thought Mel was a great surfer, and I think, like, hey, in those waves, like coming from WA, great. But I just think Chelsea, like you said, is that rare goofy foot surfer that just on the women's side that was just so good, and probably with the form that we have here, might have won titles.
I'm with you. I mean, Mel did win on her backhand in Fiji, Tahiti. I think that speaks to her like comfort level out in reefs coming from Western Australia. But I think there was also like a generational shift with Chelsea and Mel. I think Mel was part of the older guard at the time. And I think Chelsea's dynamism on her forehand would have taken that one for sure.
Dynamism.
Dynamism. Is that a word?
Strong.
That's strong. There you go. It's COVID. You just kind of do the New York Times crossword and just learn things. Match 6, the Andy Irons up against Bobby Martinez for all three of us. Pat, you go first on this one.
Go.
This is a classic heat right here. This is just a straight, like, this is must-see TV, right? This is why it all comes down to this. Yeah. It should be like that. It should feel like that.
Rippable left-handers. AI's had 3 world titles, fell back in 2005, and he's back in the hunt in 2006 for this one.
Jeez. Selema?
I'm taking Andy. I'm taking Andy.
Yeah.
He's just it stops here and now.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Tight.
Good out. Yeah, I'm going to go Andy. I just think, do you know, there's just a handful of surfers that there's that extra 20%, 5%, whatever. I think when it comes to that moment, I think that extra piece comes out, and I'm
watching that heat in my head right now, and it's insane.
It's good, totally. Right?
Oh, so good.
I'm with you guys. AI all the way. I love Bobby's surfing. He's one of my favorite surfers. I think AI is just full apex predator in 2006.
At backhand, I went to Indo with him in 2008, and for 2 weeks, and it's still the best backhand surfing that I've ever witnessed in my life. It's just insane,
untouchable. And I think too, like, the physical difference between him and Bobby on that canvas is going to be pronounced. You know, yeah. Bobby's a super like rail driven power surfer too, but like you're just talking probably a difference of like 30 pounds of muscle per turn.
Yeah.
With Andy.
Andy's crushing that heat.
All right. Well, that's a consensus. We've been very aligned on the men. Women's final. So this is going to be the best 2 out of 3. And Selema is going to tee up Lane Beachley versus Sofia Milanovic, rippable left-handers. Best 2 out of 3. Who wins the world title?
Lane wins the first heat. Sofia wins the second. Lane wins the event.
Why do you think she wins the first and second? What's your rationale?
I think she has been walking her. Picture that Lane 2006, just like lying in a cage that hasn't been fed for a week on purpose, specifically so that it can just go and carcass tear. I think she's intimidating, and she's doing all that, and she's willing the win. I think Sofia bounces back in that second heat with a little bit more energy and passion and flame. And then Lane puts her to bed with the wisdom.
I think there's also a little bit of fatigue for Sofia. She's already had, this is, multiple heats through the day.
Yeah.
That I think you're right. I would have, it's almost at that point she's made it to the final. That's the win. It's just how much does she have to get her over the edge?
She's peaked.
I think you're right. I think
she's peaked in earlier in earlier heats.
Yeah.
Good one.
I don't disagree.
Pat, you've got Chelsea Georgeson up again, and you and I got Chelsea Georgeson against Lane Beachley. Who's going to take the world title?
So I'm sort of siding on the same logic. That's sort of why I was asking Selema. Like, I think Chelsea gets through those heats. I think it's she may even win the first one against Lane, but then I think Lane gets the next 2. And I think she gets it based around Lane may hit the water a little bit cold where Chelsea's had a run. But I think in the end, she may kind of run out of gas, and I think Lane's going to get the win. That would be, that's how I see it.
I really look forward to this.
This is a hard one. Like, I think it's like, this is another sort of generational, like, kind of shift, right? Not as much as sort of Mel Redmond-Carr and Chelsea Georgeson, but like, yeah, geez, like, I think Lane in 2006 is such a competitive master, and her backhand was really, really good too. And I love the sliding doors. I love the time machine because I get to pretend what would have happened otherwise. But I'm with you. I think that Lane like tactics her way through the first one. And I think Chelsea scares her in the second one, and then I think Lane performs in the third one. She wins a world title. So
I still think that like the ratio of ability to perform coupled with like sheer intimidation factor, like there was a stretch there where Lane just had to show up, and she had the fear instilled in whoever it was. And she very much enjoyed that position, and she knew how to flex it. Like we talk about Kelly's mind games. I think Lane was a master at getting deep inside people's domes and was intimidating, and then had this ability to back it up.
I think that's where that Mel Redmond Carr comment came from. You know, you've won 3 CTs in a row, and you're like, Lane will probably still win the world title because of that.
Yeah.
Men's final. The Kelly Slater. He just returned. He won the 2005 world title up against Andy Irons. Blood feud. Best 2 out of 3. Selema, I'm going with you first again. Come on, man. Flying the champagne.
Can we just make this the best of 5? Let's put them out there for best of 5, right?
Yeah. If this had happened in 2006, they'd still be surfing against each other. We'd just do a best of a billion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2006. Well, it's also the beginning of Andy trying to like find his real will for the ring. Like big performances, but the ability to like be there for the ring. And Kelly's in that, like, he's gotten his swagger back. That said, that wave there, it's close. I think Andy wins the event.
What do you think the sequencing is in the best 2 out of 3? Does Kelly get any of them?
Oh yeah, I think it's a 1-1-1.
1-1-1.
Yeah, I think Kelly wins the first one. The second one is Andy. Kelly has a couple of mistakes, and then I think the third one is literally like half a point between the two of them.
I like it. Pat, before I get to you, it's probably worth reviewing Kelly's year and his results quickly. Not that Selema's going to take his selection back, but first on the Gold Coast.
First, second, third, fifth, third, second. Yes. I mean,
there's some no-shows. This is what blows me away, right? First on the Gold Coast, first at Bells Beach, second in Tahiti, no-showed in Fiji. I don't know why that was. 5th in Mexico, 3rd in J-Bay. Lost my place. 2nd at Trestles, 3rd in France, 2nd in Mundaka, no-showed in Batuba. I know why that was. And 2nd at Pipeline. This is a freakish year. Pat?
Well,
I just remembered who he was dating. I just remembered who he was dating at the time, and now I want to take it back.
So
share with the group. Selema.
I'm falling in line with Selema. I'm just not sure if Kelly gets Andy in the first one, I'm not sure how Andy reacts at that moment. If he's like, okay, it's on, or if he just completely melts down, which could happen at that point, right? Like,
yeah,
it became blood sport between those guys so radically. Whoever wins the first heat, I just think wins. And I don't think it even goes to 3. I think they're so fucking pissed off at each other that I just think if whoever gets the first one, the other one just falls apart and just hating each other.
That's probably a wiser assessment. And again, I believe that's also the that's the year. There's a lot of things going good for Kelly in the totality of his life during 2006.
Yeah. just Andy, even to Kelly, he had that sort of manic thing in his where he could do anything. He was subhuman strength. It was just like, and so if Andy pulls that off in heat 1, I think he wins. Dave, I'm going to pass the buck to you.
I'm an easy one on this one. It's Andy in 2. That's my call. I like I like where your head's at, Pat. I think it's like feast or famine with these guys. And I think the pressure cooker of a single day for the world title is going to kind of like exacerbate that feast or famine paradigm for them in a big way, right? Like, and I think Andy comes off of beating Bobby. I think he kind of punches Kelly in the face with the first wave, puts up a 9. Kelly gets disinterested. Andy puts him to bed. And then in the second one, it's Andy again. And Kelly probably starts trying to do rodeo flips sort of towards the back end of the heat and calls it a day. He probably sticks one actually just to take the in 2006, Kelly sticks a rodeo flip at the left-hander in the Maldives, and everyone remembers that. And then it takes some thunder away from Andy's 4th world title.
Yeah. Well, I hadn't even really surfed in the last probably like 6 weeks or so. Some things. I was with my girlfriend's family, and my boards got here late, and
that's right. Tom Curran impersonation all the way. Pat, you got to choose, man. That's part of the time machine.
I'm on the same team. I think Andy gets it. I think exactly. I would love to be there to watch the mind games between those two boys going into the final day. The week lead up is more entertaining than the final heat. In my mind, it's just who can figure out how to eat lunch better than the other, and just everything is a competition. And by the time the heat comes, it's just literally like first wave. I'm actually going to take it where you went, Dave, and say whoever gets the best first wave wins the world title. Like the first exchange is the entire thing, because the other
you guys were around them a lot at that time. I was just a pup. So who, when they met, who often got the first wave? Was it one or the other, or was it mixed?
I don't remember. I just Andy was such a good competitor because he was just so flipping good, man. He was so good. And Kelly was too in his own way. Andy went on this tear at that point of his life that it was like, how can you beat him? It's like he was going to win every heat. It almost felt like it was just like, okay, how is this going to happen? Is he going to get 210s? And, you did everything you could just to hang in the water with him for as long as you could. Well, that was me, I should say. That was every heat of my career. I'm going to hang on as long as I can.
Well, that's it. That's the time machine. I guess sort of the Council of Wisdom ended up in the same spot. We got there through different means, but we've got Lane winning a world title. We've got Andy winning a world title. So that's cool.
Do you like that? Well, if so, subscribe over there and then watch more videos over there. And then tell us your favorite videos down there. It's a 3-step process. Do them all now.